Колеги, доброго.
Sim colleagues, good morning. The Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts its work. Thanks to everybody, to our audience. Today, within the framework of the pilot project Spokesman of Peaceful Life, we are going to talk about armed forces Ukraine assistance to the local residents, which is called СІМІС. The first civil-military cooperation was formed 18 months ago, associated with the events in the east of Ukraine. And the major mission was Spokesperson to share the information on all those who suffer the conflict in the east of Ukraine. They have to assist the local residents and take care of the gas and water supply in the Luhansk and Donetsk region, and also providing legal assistance to the civilians so that they could return as soon as possible to a peaceful life. Within the framework of this pilot project, may I remind you, we already had a Skype briefing with the Sector A in Glass region and the acting head of the United Center of Military Civil Cooperation, Sector M. They told us about the specific features providing assistance to local residents, about the activities of the humanitarian organization in Ukraine in the populated areas of those regions, and a number of other things, which the responsibility of which are shouldered by those unique divisions. But the major function is to restore the trust in the people in their bright future. Today we have Lieutenant Colonel Oleksandr Gvosdkov, who is going to tell you about the situation in Sector B, Director of СІМІС Group of the Donetsk region, what they already have done and what kind of assistance can be provided to local residents. Good afternoon, Alexander. Good afternoon. Please speak not too fast because we have the simultaneous translation in Russian and English languages, so please be clear and not fast. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Oleksandr Gvosdkov. I am the senior officer of the group of СІМІС Group in the Sector B. For the last 18 months, I've been working here in this sector, dealing with the issues of the civil-military cooperation. You actually, in your forward, in your introduction speech, you already mentioned what we are doing, but we are kind of a link in the bridge, linking the civil component and military component. In other words, we try and take care of all the issues, problematic issues, which can emerge between those two banks. The bridge, actually, which I mentioned, which can help us to resolve many problems. Of course, the sphere of our activities is very big, starting from the humanitarian assistance given to those people who suffered, and the assistance or the help given to our military units. In the ATO zone, also restoration of the infrastructure damaged as a result of combative actions, and a number of other measures directed or aimed at increasing the prestige of our country, first of all, and the military personnel in the area where we have this ATO operation. In other words, we take care of different steps or measures which have to unveil the myth created by the Kremlin propaganda about them, their murderers, killers, and actually through doing something, through some of our efforts to try to prove the opposite of that. Of course, people can see that our informational support is not really efficient. This is a big problem in this region. Actually, practically the information space is filled by the propaganda channels of the so-called DPR and the Kremlin television, which actually put in the minds of the local people the feeling of hatred toward Ukraine, to the Ukrainian people, and actually they create the image of Ukraine as the terrible monster and Nazis, whatever. And it's very difficult to work under those conditions. In anyway, and we're trying to do everything to resolve this problem in order to provide the information to those who need this and to fill the gap of the informational space and to fight that kind of untrue propaganda that they try to put in the local minds. In speaking about Sector B, we start to restore the damaged infrastructure. We are trying to do anything which could facilitate the life of the local people. We deal with the restoration of schools damaged as a result of the warfare. We try to restore the water supply and lines overhead, power lines. We have already dozens of cases where we did a lot. For example, Krasnogorovka, we repaired the 110 kilovolt overhead line, which actually helped to provide the power line and at least to launch the local, let's say, fire-resistant bricks plant, actually to provide local people some jobs and to make their life easier to some extent. Sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned that you restore the schools. Do you have some statistics how many schools or maybe kindergartens you managed to restore? Well, the process is still in progress, and now that we have the relative ceasefire regime and the number of the shootings, let's say, decreased on the part of the enemy, so we can use the time for our own purposes, and we actually provide the help in order to provide the system of heat supply system of school number 5. Now it already operates, and we already start to help this and provide the possibility for the pupils to go to that school. Also, we managed to liberate another school in Krasnogorovka. I mean, not liberate, we actually vacate this school because this school was occupied by the servicemen. Previously, now the school can be returned to its own function. And of course, we did a lot regarding those two schools. We helped them to have some additional supply of coal, etc. And there is another very interesting idea. We take care of the kind of classes to render, to provide the first medical aid with the senior high school students or pupils, and I think this is a good idea. We believe that those who are informed, those are armed, so to say. Also, we have a separate group which takes the care of special tasks for the interest of the sector. So we gradually actually expand our activities in Novgorodsk and other villages. Also, we are going to take classes in the schools of Nizhny Donetsk for the first medical aid. So we continue our work. There is a lot of work ahead of us. There are a lot of damages done to different schools. So once again, please slow down. In any case, there is a lot of work ahead of us in these schools. High schools and kindergartens located in this region require a lot of investments, both financial and the, let's say, the material. But anyway, we are doing our work and we plan to continue that. Also, we deal with with some construction work, for example, or restoration work. We restored the water supply line in partial Marinka. Also, we took care of water supply line lane in Krasnogorovka. It also, this line also operates, and we supply water to the local people. We organized the work together with the mobile communication operator to restore the mobile communication in the same cities Marinka and Krasnogorovka. Due to the fact that the Kremlin propaganda zombie, so to say, the local people, that the Ukraine power tried to suppress the radio signals. We tried to do the opposite, and together with the mobile operators, mobile communication operators, we managed to restore the mobile communication network in this region, and so it's absolutely operational. It can reach any populated area in this sector. We continue to work in some other populated areas where there are some difficulties with the power supply, and we hope that we are going to cover the whole space which we had coverage before the warfare started. I need some clarification. Since what time the civil military cooperation has been in existence in Sector B, and how many people you have in your team? I personally came in July last year here. That was my second rotation. Since June last year, we launched the pilot project, function of the special subdivision in the armed forces Ukraine. So we carried out a number of different measures. We took care of delivering humanitarian aid to the cities and the populated areas which suffered as a result of warfare. Water supply in the summer was rather hot, and then since December, we officially became part of the Armed Forces of Ukraine as a separate division. So we continue our small pilot project. We try to put some of the part of our СІМІС group into the battalion structure. So the experience showed that if two officers are part of that formation, we can resolve different problems faced by the local population, and it actually increases the efficiency of the work. We are working with one of the brigades in the nearest future. If everything is okay, I plan to introduce two more officers into more formations. Also, we have a separate group. I mentioned that already in Avdiivka, since this city has a lot of outstanding problems. So we decided to set up a separate group, up to 5 persons, being part of that group. All in all, we have 27 officers of the СІМІС group. And all of them are officers, more or less of the senior officers. Many of those have the combat experience, both here in the ATO zone, and some of them took part in the international peacekeeping operations, trained abroad, etc., etc. Thank you, Alexander. I do have a number of other issues. As far as I can understand, you mentioned that it's not very easy to explain to the local residents why you are present there, why you have arms and weapons, and what is your mission, your goals. How you explain what you are doing there and who is who there? Well, actually, we try to take care of the information component of our work. We try to explain all that through the internet network. We also have the Facebook page of the Civil Military Cooperation in Facebook, which is updated permanently, and we put all the information about our efforts and works. So we do never hesitate to attend to local meetings of the local population, and we ourselves try to report the results of our work done by us to the local population. As a rule, this has very good results. and those people in the villages and cities located in this area, they already have a belief that if the army says something, they will do this exactly. In this way, we try to seed some doubts regarding the Kremlin propaganda. Also, we try to publish the results of our efforts in the mass media, in the press, published here in this sector where we are active. And in other words, we try to use any ways at our disposal. Of course, we need the TV transmission. Unfortunately, in the zone of sector B, we do not have the TV broadcasting, Ukrainian broadcasting. That's why we face some difficulties, but we are going to find a way out of this problem or how to resolve this problem further on. Now, please, maybe our journalists have some questions, so please introduce yourself. Good afternoon, Sergey Milarchuk, UCMC. First of all, thank you very much for the fact that you managed to contact us today by Skype. Even more thanks go to you for the fact that you try to restore the peaceful life in those territories. So my question is, how many populated areas are there in the zone of your responsibility? What kind of the technical support you have for your division? Is this equipment is sufficient? What if you're talking about some additional technical means which you need maybe to implement the tasks which were set before you? One more question. You mentioned the volunteer public organizations which help you. Can you be more specific what kind of organization you're talking about? Thank you for your questions. On the whole, it's very difficult to enumerate or to name all the populated areas which are located here, but the sector B includes such districts as Krasnomersky, Yansenovat, Velikonovoselovsky district, Marinka district. So we are talking about hundreds upon hundreds of different populated areas. The major efforts we concentrate now on the major populated areas which are located closer to the contact line. We are talking about Novgorodsk, Verkhnetoretsk, Avdiivka, Opitne, Piski, Lidar, Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Novomikhalovka, and a number of other populated areas, small cities and villages where we trying to we take care of our duties. As for the technical component or the equipment, yes, we have to admit, I might say that we face some difficulties here. Again, volunteers help us. Some of the volunteers actually presented to us with some of the vehicles, and we do appreciate that because the work which we have to take care of. And and I mentioned that the representatives of those youth organizations come to visit us, and they realize that we really need this kind of equipment and the technical equipment and vehicles. Of course, we would like to have a higher quality vehicles. Please understand, we tried now to change another time, those to introduce some changes into the armed forces of Ukraine. So we already have, in fact, a NATO type of subdivision, and we believe that if we had better vehicles of the higher class, better protected with more cross-country efficiency, this will actually help us a lot. But we understand that this issue requires additional consideration. We cannot possibly persuade the people that we're trying to bring them the brilliant or bright future, driving those, very old or, let's say, cars. And we also organized, we were talking about the project under which we carry out together with volunteer organizations, try to find the the bodies of those Ukrainian servicemen who were killed in action on the territories which are not under the control of the government of Ukraine. So we are taking care of this Ilovaisk battle territory, and again we use very old, outdated equipment, and which requires additional expenditures, expenses, and we try to find some different ways how to resolve the existing problems. Once again, if you're talking about the equipment, including the vehicles, it's the situation is not very good. Any other questions? And please introduce yourselves. Elena Shupkina, UCMC. Whether the sentiments or the mood of the local population has changed after all your efforts. Maybe you carry out some monitoring, maybe your team or the volunteers. Have there been any changes? Maybe they now start to understand that there are no gangsters here or the Bandera people here, Thank you. This is really a very good question. I remember about 18 months ago when we were entering such populated areas as Krasnogorivka or Mariinka, the local population actually their attitude towards Ukraine and Ukrainian people was very negative. They were trying to express their anti-Ukrainian sentiments to the servicemen of their own country now. But now I believe the situation has radically changed. As mentioned before, we try to talk less but to do more. If we say something, we try to quote or to talk about the actual results of our work, because our people are fed up with all the promises of better life, etc. And the people start to believe wanted to some real work done, And we know what we have to do. We know that we have something we can, be proud of some of the results of our work. But again, I repeat myself: the information space is not filled by our information, and we actually so far we are losing this information war. But we are trying to find the ways how to improve the situation and give the people some kind of general government information for the unbiased, let's say, understand or perception of the events. Any other questions I could? Okay, so maybe just to crown it all, I have another question myself. Your next plans regarding this civil military cooperation, and what do you think when the time comes that we'll stop to use such a term as uncontrolled, the territory uncontrolled by the government of Ukraine, when this will be the territory of Ukraine, all of that, So thank you very much for your question. Believe me, we are trying to do everything possible so that the term peace become in constitution in every household in this area. But unfortunately, not everything depends upon such a small division as CIMIC. Only by pooling our efforts, all services, our armed forces, all the units, and all our Ukrainian family, the whole nations, we can do something to for such words as peace could reign in our country. As regards the future projects, our next project is restoration of the gas supply system in Mariinka, Krasnogorivka. We are doing our best to do that. There are some of the nuances. We have to take care of the security. Unfortunately, the guarantees of security not always correspond to the reality. They actually torpedo all the time this kind of the agreements, and they prevent us from doing our job. But we are going to continue our efforts, and I believe that in the nearest future, the gas will be supplied to every household in this territory, which is under our control at least. And we are going to continue to restore infrastructure in those populated areas which suffered the damage. Also, we are going. We keep in our minds the help, the assistance to be provided to our veterans, and there is quite a big number of those who need our help. We are going to establish contacts, to continue to establish contacts with the international organization to help them to monitor the situation and to find different ways to resolve the existing problems, and to help them to provide assistance to those populated areas which badly need it. So we have a lot of plans, and even if tomorrow, if peace reigns tomorrow in our country, believe me, we have a lot of works for not only for several years, maybe for several decades to go. So we're going to continue our work. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you for what you're doing. To you and all the whole of your team. Thank you for contacting us. I know that there were some technical problems before you were on the air. So thanks again, and all the best to you. Thank you, and all the best to you. Goodbye. Thank you for being with us, dear colleagues. Our next press briefing within the project spokesman of Peaceful Life will be next Tuesday, the same time. Thanks for joining us.